Be sure you know who you are creating your product for before you create it. In this video, I will share 5 steps to discovering who you want to serve so that you can create products and services for them. As a longtime homesteader, I understand what keeps you up at night. Can I afford to start a homestead? Will my spouse ever be able to work from the homestead full time? What if a tree falls and destroys the barn we just built? I'm worried I won't have enough money to pay for the new fencing. How are we going to be able to pay for all the vet fees? Will we ever be able to take a vacation? These are thoughts that enter our minds, and it's difficult to keep moving forward because it's hard to see a way out. I'm here to offer you hope. The best way to get out of this feeling of despair is to have a plan and to focus on that plan. And the way we start planning is by having brainstorming sessions. The Cultivating Cash Flow Challenge is how you will discover ideas for your 3 homestead income stream strategy, and this will be the beginning of your cash flow strategy. If you are ready to take steps to start or improve your homestead income plan in 2024, you need to start now. I will show you how to take effective and sustainable action steps toward your financial goals. This 5-day event is free within a private Facebook group and a private YouTube event. The event officially starts on August 18th, so visit homesteadincomeplan.com/cash flow to register. Okay, real quick before we start, I want to apologize for the multiple times I banged the mic stand. I have a new setup and I didn't realize I was hitting my mic, so I apologize. Hopefully this doesn't make it so where that's all you notice throughout this whole episode. But I just wanted you to know I've been working hard to create content for you, and so some of this content has been repurposed on YouTube, and so I'm trying to work that out. But it's all good. It's all good information, so you'll really like this episode. So here we go. So let's sell smarter, not harder. This will be your guide to selecting your ideal product audience. And we're going to go over that in this episode. You don't want to waste time creating a product or service and then nobody buys it. So this is a very important step and is why I decided to make a whole episode on this topic. Number 1, the power of audience selection. Why is it even important to have one particular person or group of people in mind when you're creating your homestead income streams? The reason is because if you don't focus on one group of people or one person, then you end up trying to talk to everyone, which never really gets a message across. You can't tell a person, you can't use the exact same scenarios a mom with 5 kids would go through, and then also use the same scenarios for a single woman living by herself. There might be some connections, but the messaging is different. So that is why we want to be specific on the type of people that we're talking to. It does not mean, note this, it does not mean that the people who do not fit within those people groups, those types of people, won't get a message. I am always learning from people who are moms with young kids who have been through that stage in my life already. I don't need that type of advice, but I'm always learning from other people. I'm learning from, every type of person I can learn from. Doesn't mean that when we're speaking to one person that we're pushing out other people. It just means that our message is super clear, and the person who is outside of the message, who might not be your ideal customer, can also benefit from it. So don't think that when you're niching down, when you're getting focused on one type of person, that you are pushing out other people. That is not what that means at all. It just creates a more focused marketing effort, and it allows you to make content that's much easier if you know who you're speaking to. So one way to start this is by creating polls. Now, right now, I'm speaking to the person who has a product or service in mind, or you already have that as you created it already. And you're like, okay, so I didn't do the first step, which was to figure out who I wanted to serve first. So how can I get my product to fit a certain person? One thing you can do is by doing some research, going out, because it might not be that your product is if doesn't fit someone. It just might mean that you need to start looking for that person that it does fit. So if you already have a product or service that you've created and you need to find the person that would buy your product, then what you want to do is just get out into your community. If it's a local thing, if it's an on homestead income thing and you have local people, or off homestead, you have local people that you can connect with, then go out into the community and ask questions. Make sure you watch my last video on idea generation. I go a little bit more into market research, but basically what I talked about in that video is that market research is really about talking with people. Get out into your community. If it's a local thing that you're selling, get out into your community and ask people questions. But ask the right people questions. So if you've designed your product for a specific type of person, make sure you're asking that type of person more details. You can also do your own little market research by having surveys. This is really perfect for people who have online businesses. So have a survey, do a social media poll. You can do things like that. You use your social media. This is a great way to use your social media, is to, ask the people around you, ask the people in your community. If you do not have your own social media platform where you feel like there's enough people to ask, try in some Facebook groups, and don't forget to join the Homestead Income Plan Facebook group that we have. It's free, and you'll learn a lot of stuff about homestead income, but you can also ask your questions in there. So number 3 is creating customer personas. Now, I talked a little bit about why it's important to have focus and know who you're talking to, but you can actually go really deep and just figure out exactly the person that you're wanting to serve. So if you want to serve, moms, homesteading moms, you can even go as far as knowing their, where they live and, what type of place they live, what type of home they live in, where their husband, works outside the home or whatever. You can get very, very specific on this, or you could just go wide. I feel there's nothing wrong with going wide. Just know that it's a little bit harder to speak to people if it's a wide persona. So if you're, just talking about all homesteaders, it's really a lot more difficult to create a product if you don't have someone specific in mind. But like with this, I'm helping homesteaders who want to generate income. So my niche right here is pretty broad, but it is, I also help beginner homesteaders, which is also kind of broad because it's, there's no specific person. I do kind of target a little bit families, but there's really no specific person that I am targeting. I'm just targeting beginners. And as well as with this homestead income, I am targeting people, homesteaders, whether they're beginner or not, who want to generate an income from the homestead. So you can go a little bit wider. I don't have a specific person in mind for this particular topic. I just keep going and figure out what people want and just serve as best I can. So going out in the community, figuring out who it is that you want to serve, you can go as deep as finding their, specifics about the person. That makes it a little bit easier to create content, but it's not absolutely necessary. So one thing you need to know about starting any business is that you're going to have to adapt over and over again. It's like, just get good at adapting, just get good at pivoting, because one thing you might think is really a good path and you end up, you find out that it's not working. So you just have to be able to pivot. And this is true in homesteading life as well, right? Things happen all the time. Disasters happen. Things, break, and you have to pivot. You have to learn how to pivot. Well, in business, it's no different. You really just have to learn how to pivot and be able to do it well without without being distracted by disappointment. So you want to analyze your data. You want to analyze what you found when you go out and do some of your market research, which is, doing those polls, asking people questions, getting insights from people around you. You want to then analyze it and say, is there something in this information that I have that would really, really serve people? So this is more of talking to someone who has not had a product yet, and you're just trying to decide what product to create. So you can analyze this data and figure out if it's a good path to go on, you can get really deep, especially with marketing research, and do more of like, how much are people spending on things? I mean, it's really important, depending on your business size that you're trying to create, you will want to get more deeper into this market research, and you'll want to get deeper into analyzing the data and stuff. Because if you're investing a lot of money, let's say you're investing a lot of money to get the supplies for the products that you are going to create, you need to make sure that there are people that are going to buy that. So work smarter, not harder. I touched on it a little bit before, but knowing your ideal customer will also help you to market really well, to put out information for the people that you want to serve. So make sure that you are really tailoring your market strategy to fit the people that you are trying to serve. So for example, we see this all over the place in different types of companies, right? We see that their marketing efforts are wonderful. One of my favorite places to eat in California is In-N-Out. Now the title, the name of the company is In-N-Out, and that in your mind makes you think that it's really fast. And they are really fast. They have targeted their customers, and they know that they want fast service, fresh as you can get food, because they make their potatoes. If you're not familiar with In-N-Out, they actually take potatoes and put it in a potato slicer right there in front of you. You can drive by and watch them make these potatoes fresh. And then you get, it's amazing that they can make the potatoes and get you through as fast as they can, but they have such a good system. So if that's another way for you to, distinguish yourself, which we will talk in future episodes, but distinguish yourself from another company is like In-N-Out is fast. They have the marketing message in their sign that says In-N-Out. You can get In-N-Out really fast. They also provide the food that you want, and it's pretty good. I mean, for fast food sake, I miss it terribly being here in Georgia now. We were in California, and that's where it was born, I believe. So let's say in your ads and that sort of thing, the messaging is right to fit that person that you're trying to serve, right? I recommend organic advertising first, and not to get into ads, right away, because it's more complicated, and I don't want you to waste money. And it can be beneficial depending on what you are doing, how big your business is, Knowing who you're serving will help you to tailor your marketing strategy. So this is why it's another reason why it's really important to know. So some of the big mistakes I feel like people make is they start by, first of all, not knowing who they are serving. That is a huge mistake. You need to know who you're serving and who your target is, but also not providing multiple ways that same person can be served by you. So that is kind of like a customer journey, okay? So you want to be able to serve the same person in multiple ways. That way you don't have to keep getting new clients, new customers. You don't have to keep getting new customers. You can, you of course have to do that over time, but you don't have to do it as much if you know who you are serving and know their beginning and the end that you want them to come to. So if you have, let's say, 5 different products, and we're talking in-person products, we're talking, you could have produce or animals or whatever it is. It's all a product, or you could have digital products. It's all a product, and serving the same person in multiple ways. That's why, though, I do talk about the multiple income streams through having the on homestead, off homestead, and online income, because you can do that with the same customer, depending on what product or service you have, but you can do that with the same customer on homestead, off homestead, and online. And so you're not spreading yourself too thin, trying to create all these businesses that don't match and that don't mix. You are actually doing yourself a favor by making it more streamlined. If you just figure out what your one customer, your most ideal customer, needs from the start to finish. Okay, here are some of the common mistakes you can avoid. Number one is having a too broad of audience where you're not speaking to an individual or a smaller group. You need to have a smaller and more specific group, okay, that you're speaking to, because it'll making marketing, your marketing efforts and advertising your business, it'll make it a lot easier if you know who you're speaking to. The next one is assuming you know, this is number two, assuming you know what your ideal customer is dealing with. Okay, the only time that this might be okay is if you are serving the person you were 5 years ago or time ago. If you're serving that person, you might know what they're thinking, so you can make assumptions that other people have probably dealt with the same thing. But if you're serving a entirely new audience, then you need to make sure you know what their language. You know their language. Speak to them the way they need to hear things and know their pain points. So don't make assumptions. And this will help if you're doing those surveys and those polls. This information you can gather from that as well. And make sure that you use their language. If you use their language from these surveys, if you use their words, it oftentimes will resonate with someone else, and it makes really good marketing. Another mistake is not setting up your business so that you're serving the same person in multiple ways. This will prevent you from having to get new customers all the time, because you have to create new products and that don't, you're trying to grab at as many customers as you can. If you know that your customer journey, you know where they start and where they need to be by the end, you can create multiple products for that same person. And it can be physical products or digital products, it doesn't matter. You can serve the same person in multiple ways if you just make sure that you're being conscious of their journey, okay? And that's why knowing who they are, knowing your customer is so important. Okay, so the next mistake I see is people putting all their eggs in one basket. All their marketing, they're reaching the one person in the one area. But what happens is if you just have like social media, a lot of people start with social media, and that's great, and it's a good place to start. But you want to make sure that you're on a foundation platform, and you're building a foundation platform at the same time you are building your Instagram or whatever. So this goes for people who have an on homestead or off homestead or an online business, because social media is used in so many different ways right now. So make sure that you're at least starting to create one of these foundation platforms, okay? It's either a YouTube channel, a podcast, or a blog. And the reason I say this is because these are in search engines and they're long form content. We have most social media platforms are short form content, and people are just getting snippets and snippets of your information here and there. There's no chronological. There's no people don't see chronological anymore. So what you need to do is make sure that they have the ability to go subscribe to your podcast, or go subscribe to your YouTube channel, or go read your blog, depending on who your target audience is. That's another thing you got to research, okay, to find out where they are in that way. But then use your social media for repurposing or using the same topic to spread in those places. And it seems like when I say that, it might scare you and you think it's more work, but it actually isn't. It's better to start with a long form content and repurpose it than it is to start with a short form content and try to get everywhere, because there's so much you can grab from one long form piece of content, and you're working so much more efficient if you do it that way. So that mistake is putting all your eggs in one basket with your marketing efforts. I know people tend to say, figure out Instagram first and then move on to the other thing, but that is dangerous as well. If you end up doing that, you may actually lose your account, like I just did with my TikTok account. I had over 5,000 followers on there, and it was doing pretty good. I mean, I wasn't the greatest TikToker, but I was okay. And then one day they banned me and I'm not there anymore. So that could happen. And all of these social platforms, including YouTube. But I think it's a lot harder for that to happen on YouTube than it is anywhere else on the other social platforms. For some reason, TikTok thought I did some terrible thing, which I did not do. I think it was my link. I changed my link in the bio thing, the link in bio, and then after that, I was gone. Like, something about my link was not allowed. So, okay, so this brings me to the next a mistake I see people making. They are not starting an email list. An email list is so important for all of those scenarios: on homestead, off homestead, and online income. It is really good. The only area that it might not be as necessary is in the off homestead income. But if you are needing to speak with your customer, if you're needing to keep connected with your customer, email is the best way. And it helps people to get that chronological thing, to get things in order as they're coming. And you can make automations with your email, so you don't have to just be emailing people all the time. You can have onboarding things when you welcome people in and they put their email address in. They automatically get a welcome email over the next couple of days. And it's so much better way to connect. Plus, they have opted into the email. So it's like they're deciding that you can have their email address and they want to get the information. Those are my 5 steps to getting more clear on your audience, on your ideal customer audience, and some bonus tips that I gave you to avoid some mistakes. And if you want to get more into my world, you can also get on my email list by getting the 101 Homestead Income Ideas list, and I have that link in the description. So go ahead and download that. It's broken up into the on homestead, off homestead, and online income streams. So it's good for you. So go ahead and download that, and then you can reply to my emails, and I'm very, very much happy to reply to you. And I do make sure that I reply to my emails.